Prince Harry's security battle has exploded into a royal family crisis, and King Charles's silence may be the loudest message of all. Behind closed palace doors, a shocking question is hanging over the monarchy. Why did a father battling cancer choose to say absolutely nothing after reportedly being told his grandchildren would not return to Britain without a security guarantee?
Family are expected to visit the UK next month, and the king is expected to see his grandchildren, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet.
Given them the security that they demanded in order to bring the children, Archie and Lilibet has now caused a major...
King Charles has extended an olive branch to Prince Harry, offering for him and his family to stay on a royal estate during their youth.
Sick with cancer, and I understand his desire to see his grandchildren. That doesn't mean it doesn't disappoint me for the prince and...
The silence was immediate, and in the royal world, silence is never just silence. Every word, every reaction, every carefully chosen phrase is usually calculated. So when there was no statement, no public disagreement, no anonymous briefing, people started asking the question nobody could ignore: was Charles powerless, or was this silence actually a strategy? Because this was never just about a family visit. That is what makes this entire situation so explosive. On the surface, it sounds simple. A father says he wants his children protected. A parent does not want to take risks. Nobody can blame a parent for wanting safety. But once you look deeper, the argument suddenly becomes much bigger than one trip, one summer, or one family reunion. This is about a security battle that has been dragging on for years. Harry's protection changed after stepping away from royal duties, and that decision was not made around a family dinner table. It became an institutional issue, a decision tied to how the monarchy protects its members and public figures. And that is where the situation becomes almost impossible for Charles. Because if he gives Harry what he wants, he risks creating a precedent that changes everything. It could look like pressure worked. It could suggest that a long-standing institutional decision can be reversed when emotions become intense enough. And the person who eventually has to deal with that precedent is not Charles. It is William. That is the hidden tension beneath the surface. Charles is not only thinking like a father, he is thinking like a king. Every choice he makes now becomes something the next generation may have to carry. But the opposite choice is just as dangerous. Imagine Charles publicly refusing. Imagine a statement saying the security decision stands and nothing will change. Legally, institutionally, it might make sense. But emotionally? The headline writes itself. The world sees a grandfather choosing rules over grandchildren. And that is the trap. One decision risks damaging the institution. The other risks damaging Charles personally forever. So he chose the third option. Nothing, no public fight, no angry response, no attempt to win the argument in the media. And that may have been the most calculated move of all, because silence keeps the door open. A public refusal closes it. A public agreement changes everything. But silence creates uncertainty. And uncertainty creates room for negotiation. Still, another question has started gaining attention. If security is truly the issue, why does the conversation keep returning to Balmoral? The Scottish estate has hosted world leaders, important figures, and members of the royal family for generations. It already has security systems in place. So critics are asking, if the location is secure, what is the real obstacle? Because this story may not actually be about whether two children can safely visit their grandfather. It may be about power, precedent, and who gets to decide the future of the royal family. And underneath all of it is the most painful detail. Charles is 76, fighting cancer, and time is moving, whether this family resolves its conflict or not. Archie and Lilibet are growing up. Memories are being created right now. The royal security battle has now become something far more dangerous than a simple family disagreement. Because behind all the headlines, accusations, and carefully chosen silence, there is a ticking clock that nobody in this family can control. King Charles can negotiate with Harry. He can negotiate with the palace. He can negotiate with public opinion, but he cannot negotiate with time. And that is the part that makes this entire situation so uncomfortable. Because while everyone debates security arrangements, legal battles, and royal protocol, two children are growing up thousands of miles away from their grandfather. Archie is 7. Lilibet is 5. These are not ages that wait forever. These are the years when children build memories that stay with them for life. The little moments, the ordinary moments, the conversations nobody records because they seem insignificant at the time, that is what is being lost. Not a photo opportunity, not a headline, not a royal event, a relationship. And this is where the story takes another complicated turn. Because Charles is not the only grandfather missing from their lives. Meghan Markle's father, Thomas Markle, has also been separated from Archie and Lilibet. The reasons behind that situation are completely different, with years of public conflict and personal fallout surrounding their relationship. But the result is impossible to ignore. 2 grandfathers, 2 absences, 2 children caught in the middle of adult decisions. And that comparison has created another uncomfortable question. When relationships break down, who suffers the most? The adults involved may have their reasons, their arguments, and their wounds. But children do not create these conflicts. They simply inherit them. That is why the Charles situation continues to attract attention. Many observers point out that Charles has repeatedly avoided public attacks against Harry and Meghan despite years of criticism, interviews, documentaries, and accusations. He has remained mostly restrained, allowing the tension to exist without turning it into an open war. So people are left wondering, if restraint and silence have been Charles's approach for years, why is there still no reunion? Because maybe the real battle is not about a plane ticket to Britain. Maybe it is about control. Maybe it is about who gets to decide the terms of the future. The security dispute appears to represent something much larger. What happens if Harry receives a permanent arrangement? What happens if that decision becomes a standard for future situations? What happens when William eventually becomes king and inherits a decision he did not make? That is the fear sitting underneath everything. Because a temporary solution can become a permanent precedent. And William's reported position has been consistent. Leaving royal duties came with consequences. The institution has rules. And those rules cannot simply change, because emotions become overwhelming. But then comes the human side of the story. Charles is not just a king. He is a father. He is a grandfather. He is a man facing a serious health battle while knowing that every missed moment with his grandchildren is a moment that cannot be recovered. That is the heartbreaking contradiction. The institution demands patience, time demands urgency, and those 2 things are moving in opposite directions. There is also another question that has raised eyebrows. How can Harry reportedly travel to places with serious security challenges, yet returning to Britain with his children remains such a complicated issue? Critics argue that if solutions can be created for other trips, why does this specific journey remain unresolved? That question has kept the controversy alive, because every explanation seems to create another mystery. If the issue is safety, why does the conversation keep returning to places already designed for protection? If the issue is family, why has family become tied to negotiations? If the issue is healing, why does every possible path seem blocked? The answer may be that this is no longer just about one disagreement. It is about years of hurt, trust issues, and competing visions of what the future should look like. And that is why Charles's silence may not be weakness at all. It may be the choice of a man who knows every possible move has a cost. Speak, and he risks making the conflict worse. Act, and he risks creating a problem for the future. Stay silent, and he keeps one small door open. But the final question remains the one nobody can escape. How many more summers does this family actually have? Because arguments can continue, legal fights can continue, public battles can continue, but childhood does not pause. And one day, when Archie and Lilibet are old enough to understand this story, they may not ask who won the argument. They may ask why everyone waited so long.